Session number 4, tutorial number 3, evaluate resource options. In this video, we are going to discuss how we could evaluate resource options for a given project requirement. This may involve various activities and techniques to ensure that our evaluation is effective. Let's dive in. One of the first considerations that you have to take into account is availability. Are the resources available when needed? Is a question that we need to ask ourselves before we assign the resources. Based on the availability, the necessary adjustments and allocations can happen. Can schedule be modified to accommodate changes? In case there are changes that are required for the project, how can we accommodate these changes is another question that you have to ask yourself. Is it appropriate doing so? After all, the final question we need to ask is changing and adjusting appropriate for the given project situation? If the result says, no, this is not the right time to do the adjustment, this is not the right time to change the resources, then you may not proceed with it. Another important aspect that you have to consider during your resource options is the cost. Cost plays a huge role in your project. It's one of the 3 constraints that the project manager has to manage effectively. Be sure to include the direct and indirect expenses. Depending on the cost factor of the options available, you may decide the appropriate resource option. For example, if you have budgetary concerns, you may go for less expensive resource option over very expensive resource. This happens when we need to select certain subject matter expertise. You may have a very expertise, very skilled but expensive resource over a resource who is averagely skilled, less expensive. If you have big budgetary concerns, you may have to go for the average skilled, less expensive resource. The question you need to ask yourself is, are the resource costs within the budget? Will it allow you to go until the closure of the project? If the answer is yes, you shall go for such resource options. Another question that you may ask yourself is, does the resource provider the most value based on the cost? So if you are getting 10 resources from a particular resource provider, the question you need to keep asking yourself is that, are we getting the right value for the cost incurred due to these resources? Sometimes the answer might be no. In such cases, you need to critically evaluate the resources and then make adjustments. Otherwise, that costing will impact the budget of your project, resulting in effective project management. Another consideration that you need to take into account in evaluating resource options is experience. Will team's knowledge improve the project performance? Have these resources worked on a similar project? Do they have the necessary experience in order to perform the job. So answers to these questions will tell you whether you have the right resources in mind. So your decision needs to be based on the most optimal experience. People, those who have the right experience on the right technical stack, right domain, right business solutions. Another thing that you have to consider in terms of making resource decisions is the resource's ability or competency level to perform a job. Does the team have the right competency level to succeed? Is a very important question to answer. In case you figure out certain gaps in the competency level required, you will need to come up with a clear gap analysis and approach it through training and coaching. Otherwise, the resources that are being assigned to a given project might not be in a position to perform effectively. Another thing that we all need to consider in resource decisions is the knowledge. Do the resources have the knowledge around the given business domain, given project context? What about domain knowledge? So it's very crucial that we understand where the resources stand and accordingly approach the project execution. It's okay to have the resources with limited knowledge, but we need to have knowledge transition in mind in recruiting these resources into the project. Another thing that we need to consider is a skill set. So are we going to seek for the exact skill set, or are we going to look for some of these skills and develop the pending skills during the project? Does the team have the right skills to perform? Any training required? Will be important questions to clarify during this stage. Another important aspect that you have to consider in evaluating resource options is the attitude of the project team members. It's very crucial that the resources have the right attitude towards the work, towards the teamwork, towards delivering the results to our clients. Is the team capable of working with others? Will they mess it? Do they have the right attitude towards challenging times? All this can be very important to clarify before we start project execution. So when you decide, when you make the decisions around the right resources, pay your attention on the right attitude. So identify their current attitude and then have plans to bring them up to the ideal state. In evaluating resource options, you may also look at the internal factors. There can be various factors contributing towards your resource decisions. Example, these are some of the things that you may ask yourself. Will the team members' location be okay? Are they going to be co-located? Any cultural difference which may affect the project success? What about the communication? Is it going to be smooth and fine? Like these, there can be various other factors that can contribute towards a successful project. Therefore, investing some time to figure out the internal factors, tracking them is absolutely needed in evaluating the right resources for your project.